Hello, and welcome to If I Was President. I'm your host, retired United States Navy Senior Chief D. LaMonica. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe down below to start a conversation on If I Was President. I know some of you out there are like me and say to yourself, if I was president, this is what I would do. When I actually sat down and thought about it, there's a lot of thought that goes into making decisions that could affect the United States and the world if you or I were president. Some things I wanted to say or do as president is because of how I felt. Then I realized you can't go on feelings alone, but you have to look at a whole myriad of things such as the past and treaties to try and come up with decisions and solutions on what's best for the United States and the world at large. Now, if I was president, well, let's start from the beginning. If I was a presidential candidate, so I'm not even in a race yet, but I'm joining the race as a presidential candidate. At this point, we Americans look forward to rally speeches to hear what our favorite candidate stands on, and in the end, not going to fulfill what they said during these rallies if and when they get in office. For example, we have...
My opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Liar. If I was a presidential candidate and I was at a rally and I said, when I get in office, I'll fight for world peace. World peace? When is the last time you heard anyone say that? If at all. I can't remember if anyone has ever said they want world peace. If I said that as a presidential candidate, most of you would look at me like I was crazy, because it seems world peace is a concept that's impossible to achieve currently as tensions continue to escalate around the world. I thought I would be able to broker a truth with our current media-driven enemies such as Russia, Venezuela, and North Korea to try and curb military spending and place more of that money dedicated to military spending towards the U.S. citizens who definitely deserve it. This will require drastic changes to our foreign policy. Also, the idea of us looking weak amidst peace talks with our enemies would always be a subject of conversation. The main question is, can peace be achieved? Can world peace be achieved? I thought about this and came to the conclusion with the current leadership in place in Russia and North Korea, and considering their actions in Ukraine during peace talks, peace with these specific countries is not possible for the foreseeable future until all hostilities have ended. Always remember, peace doesn't make money for the military-industrial complex. Constant war does. Now, another conflict where we could possibly make an impact and end is trying a two-state solution in the Middle East and see if that leads to peace. Everything else for decades in this part of the Middle East has failed up to this point, giving the Palestinians their state, build a wall between them and that small country in the Middle East, and let's see if that works. I would pressure that small country in the Middle East for a two-state solution. I would end all military funding to this small country in the Middle East as well. This solution would end decades of bloodshed in that area and again place more money back into the hands of the American people where it belongs. They can live separately in peace. Peace saves lives and money. Most of you would say, I'm nuts. This will never happen. Of course it will never happen now with all the puppets in our government who have sold out to that small country in the Middle East. This is only part one of my platform if I was a presidential candidate. Tell me what you think about this particular presidential platform and the areas I talked about, and what would be yours concerning the issues I discussed. Do you think world peace is possible? Should the Palestinians be allowed to govern themselves in a state of their own? I'd really like to hear from you. Until next time, don't just support the troops, be like the troops, and the world will be a better place. Until next time, Senior Chief out. If I was president, I get elected on Friday, assassinated on Saturday.
buried on Sunday.